Welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parashas Acharei. But as I sit here and record this Drasha on Thursday morning, today is also unique and also an important day, as it is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. In Eretz Yisrael and around the world, Jewish communities, Jewish individuals, hopefully the world at large, remembers the catastrophic events that occurred less than a century ago, which claimed 6 million Kedoshim, 6 million precious men, women, and children. And the truth is, for many of us, perhaps we don't necessarily feel as much of a connection to Yom HaShoah, as in many communities, the day in which we remember this catastrophic loss is not really the week after Pesach, but perhaps, again, we focus a bit more on this loss on Tisha B'Av. I mentioned this morning in my Daf Yomi shir that by us, when we do Kinos on Tisha B'Av morning, we place an incredible emphasis on the 6 million Kedoshim, on the Holocaust, that although Tisha B'Av is the day of historical mourning for all of the calamities and catastrophes and tragedies which have befallen Klal Yisrael throughout the last 2,000 years, the wounds of the Holocaust are fresh. The survivors are still amongst us. The second generation, those of us who are the third generation, still carry with us the wounds. It's not even scars, but still the open wounds of that which occurred just a few short decades ago. And although we may tap into this tragedy a bit more on Tisha B'Av, but it behooves us as Jews and as members of greater society that if the world is recognizing today as Holocaust Remembrance Day, that we must do our part as well in just remembering, just honoring, doing something to provide an aliyah for the neshamas of the precious Kedoshim. But the truth is, how can we combine Yom HaShoah, Parashas Acharei? Is there a message? The beauty of the weekly Parsha is that there's always a message. The Parsha lives with us, or maybe better stated, we live with the Parsha. The Parashas HaShavua, the weekly Torah portion, is not just simply something we read every week, but embedded in the Parsha are the messages, is the chizuk, the strength we need to be able to face the adversity and difficulties of whatever that particular week has brought. So is there a message in Parashas Acharei that perhaps allows us to gain insight or to gain chizuk, to gain strength, to somehow utilize the incredible tragedy of the Holocaust and use it as fuel for us to go ahead and grow and to become better individuals? Because you see, as Jews, we never just simply mourn. Mourning is never an ends. Mourning is a means for something bigger, for something greater. And I want to share with you something amazing. Parashas Acharei opens up in a fascinating way. The Torah says, Hashem spoke to Moshe, Acharei Mos Shnei Bnei Aaron. The Parsha itself opens up in the aftermath of the death of Nadav and Avihu. We read about Nadav and Avihu's death in Parashas Shmini, where the Torah speaks about the fact that they did something. What exactly they did is in and of itself a fundamental dispute within the Gemara, right? But again, on the most basic level, they did something they weren't supposed to do. They came close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they brought a Eish they brought Ketoris, whatever it is that they did something, and as a result of their stepping out of line and not conforming to the rigors and to the strictures of Mishkan service, they died. Acharei Moshe Bnei Aaron. So after the death of Aaron's two sons, Moshe goes on to give Aaron the explicit instructions for how to perform the Yom Kippur service. And if we go back to the death of Aaron's sons, we'll find something amazing. The Torah records that in the immediate aftermath of Nadav and Avihu's death, what was Aaron's reaction? And the Torah says something amazing. Vayidom Aaron. Aaron was silent. Aaron was silent. And there's incredible interpretations. By the way, the word Yidom doesn't just mean silent, it means still. It means still. He was stilled. He just came to a stop. And there's a whole machlokes, there's a whole dispute amongst the commentaries how to explain that silence. Vayidom Aaron. Was it stoic silence? Was it the silence of acceptance? And so the Mefarshim go in many different directions. But either way, however you interpret it, Aaron's silence was a form of acceptance. Aaron doesn't wag an accusatory finger. Aaron does not even ask why, which is like the most natural thing to do in the aftermath of catastrophic loss. Here was a day, Yom HaShmini, the 8th day, was the inauguration of the Mishkan, a day that was supposed to be filled with such simcha, and yet Aaron, his family, and by extension Klal Yisrael, suffered such tragedy. Vayidom Aaron. Aaron accepted. You see, the greatness of Aaron is that Aaron understood that there are certain things that happen in this world that defy comprehension. There are certain things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does that the human mind can simply not absorb. There are cheshbonos, there are divine calculations in this world that even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu sat us down and tried to explain it, the human mind could not grasp it. But Aaron grasped it. He didn't grasp the reason for God's actions, but he understood that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a way in which he runs his world. There is nothing that is random. There is nothing that is haphazard. Be it simcha or tzara, be it joy or be it suffering. Everything that occurs has a purpose. Everything that occurs has a place. And everything that occurs has a reason. Vayidom Aaron. In the aftermath of catastrophic loss, Aaron modeled for us the incredibly elevated level of acceptance. Maybe it's even a form of resignation. I give myself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, I'm yours. I'm yours. Hine kechomer biyad hayotzer. I am literally like the clay in the hands of the potter. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't understand the way that you run your world, but I accept it. That was the greatness of Aaron. But the great tzaddik, the Tiferes Shlomo, Rosh Shlomo of Radomsk, says something absolutely amazing. And this is something that I've quoted many times throughout the years because to me it gives me so much personal chizuk as well. Tiferes Shlomo writes that as great as Aaron was, David HaMelech, King David, was even greater. Because by Aaron, it says, Vayidom Aaron, he was silent. But what does it say by King David in Psalm 30? Leman yizamercha kavod v'lo yidom. David HaMelech says, Hashem, I have suffered so much in my life because King David suffered. He suffered with everything. And what does he say? Leman izamercha kavod. Hashem, I will continue to sing v'lo yidom, and I will not be silent. I will continue to sing, and I won't be silent. I will not let the tragedies and adversity and difficulties of life sideline me. I will figure out a way to pull myself together and continue to sing and continue to accomplish and continue to grow because life is filled with challenges. And David HaMelech says, if I allow myself to get sidelined by the challenges, my song ends. And the moment my song ends is the moment that my dynamic accomplishment ends as well. As great, says the Tiferes Shlomo, as great as Aaron was, Vayidom, David was even greater. L'man yizamercha kavod v'lo yidom. I will sing and I will not be silenced. And I think that this is such an incredible message for us because the Torah is modeling for us how to go ahead and deal with adversity. And maybe the first step with dealing with adversity is acceptance. Vayidom Aaron. Part of what emunah means is I have to accept that I don't understand how Hashem runs the world. And it's easy to accept that you don't know how God runs the world when everything is going well and everything is going in your favor. But when life doesn't go according to plan and I'm suffering and things are going really poorly and I'm having a really difficult time at it, Vayidom Aaron. I have to dig within the well springs of my emunah, of my belief, to recognize that, you know what, Hashem, I don't like it. I don't like it, but I accept it. I really don't like it, but I accept it. That's Vayidom. But then we have to graduate from Vayidom to Leman Izamercha Kavod V'lo Yidom. If the first step is acceptance, the next step ultimately is pulling myself back together and figuring out how can I continue to sing? How can I continue to move myself forward? How can I continue to accomplish? Step 1, Vayidom, Aaron. Step 2, L'man yizamercha kavod v'lo yidom. I won't stop singing. I won't be silent. David HaMelech. And I think as we think about this lesson from Parshas Acharei, on this day Yom HaShoah, this is the message that our people embodies and represents. Because the truth is, in the aftermath of such a catastrophic loss, there's no explanation. And I think that those throughout the years who have proffered explanations, it's a slight, it's an affront, and it's a chutzpah to think that you know the cheshbonos for why HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the lives of 6 million Kedoshim. There is a reason. There's a reason for everything. But it's a reason known to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and not to us. So our first reaction to that loss is Vayidam Aaron. I have to work on my emunah to believe that as much as I don't understand what happened, I accept that it's from Hashem, and I accept that this was the Ratzon Hashem. It's difficult, it hurts, it's painful, and it keeps me up at night wondering, why would such a thing occur? How could a benevolent, loving God do something like this? But Vayidam Aaron. Emunah doesn't mean you understand everything. Emunah just means you have the power to accept it. But look at what we've done as a people. We have modeled for the world this Davidic lesson of Laman Izamercha Kavod Velo Yidom. We keep singing. Look at Klal Yisrael. Less than 100 years after they were cramming us into gas chambers and literally putting us into ovens. Less than 100 years after they were corralling us into cattle cars. Look at us. Look at our people. Look at our vibrancy. Look at our strength. Look at what we've accomplished. Look at what survivors did by building Medinas Yisrael, the state of Israel. And look at what survivors did, so many who came to this country and built up Torah infrastructure and built up commerce and built up Look at what we as a people have done. Less than a century after we were almost decimated. Mika Amcha Yisrael. Where else in the face of the world can you find a people like us? Where else in the face of the world can you find a people of such resilience? Where else can you find a people who could bounce back literally after almost complete annihilation? Where can you find a people like that? And the answer is you can't, except for Am Yisrael, except for the Jewish people. We are the living embodiment of David HaMelech's words, Leman Yizamercha Kavod Velo Yidom. We don't stop singing. We don't stop accomplishing. We don't stop growing. We don't stop. We don't stop. We don't stop. No matter what the adversity may be, the challenge may be, the difficulty may be, no one could ever stop Klal Yisrael from growing and from singing. So we accept Vayidam Aaron, and then we become Davidic. I'm going to keep singing, I'm going to keep accomplishing. And hopefully this message gives us chizuk in our personal lives as well. Because the truth is, all of us face adversity and challenge, and all of us face difficulties. And sometimes the difficulties in life feel so incredibly overwhelming that I'm ready to throw in the towel. I'm just ready to give up. And we have to take this same model to our personal lives as well. Is there suffering and is there difficulty in life? Is there adversity? Absolutely. We all have it. It's just a question of degrees. Some suffer more intensely, some suffer less intensely, some have challenges they feel they could overcome. We all face difficulties and setbacks in life. How do you deal with difficulty and setback? Number one, Vayidom, accept that it's from Hashem. This is not haphazard. Whatever happens to me in life is never haphazard. It comes from the Ribbon Shalom. If it comes from the Ribbon Shalom, then it's purposeful, then it's meaningful, even if I don't like it. And number two, gather the strength from within to keep singing. Don't let the challenges of life sideline you. Don't let the difficulties of life paralyze you. Find your song. Find your inner David HaMelech. Leman Yizamercha Kavod Velo Yidom. And in the schus of us doing this as individuals, and in the schus and the merit of clearly us personifying these concepts as a people, may the neshamas of the Kedoshim have an aliyah. May they find eternal rest tachas kanfei hashchina. And may their incredible sacrifice be a schus for all future generations of Klal Yisrael. Wishing everyone a good and Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.